Hey everybody, so glad to see you tonight on MidPoint. Really is an honor to be able to gather with you and share these moments together. Listen, I got a question for you. Have you ever heard of this phrase, the fear of the unknown? I'm sure you have because it's a pretty common phrase. And believe it or not, there's an actual official definition of the fear of the unknown. Here it is. Fear caused by a perceived lack of information. Now, I'm not sure how long it took or how much these people got paid to come up with that definition, but there you go. I mean, it's like looking up the definition for surprise, and it says the act of being surprised. I mean, and you're thinking like, really? But anyway, it's the fear caused by a perceived lack of information. Here's my definition. I don't know what's going on in front of me. I don't know what's ahead, but it's freaking me out. Ever been there? I know I sure have. I think it's fair to say that probably most all of us have come to places in our lives where we just don't have all the information. We're just not sure what lies ahead. And yet, in that moment, a decision's got to be made. I mean, movement has to occur. We've got to do something about it. And the pressure of having to do something combined with the lack of that information, that we just don't have any idea what's going on, can produce fear. Our minds go on this endless journey that consumes our day and keeps us up at night. And we ask some pretty legitimate questions like this. Am I making the right decision? Is there danger ahead of me? Is this going to be good for my family? Is this going to bless my family? Is this God's will? So what do you do in those kinds of moments? Well, let's start with just a little bit of common sense. If fear is produced by the unknown, could faith be produced by what we know? I think you can, because I personally believe that fear is misplaced faith. You see, we weren't created to place our trust in temporal things like money or earthly governments or our own strength and our own intellect and so on. We were created to place our full and complete trust in God. Take out a dollar bill or look at a coin. What do you see on it? What does it say? It says, "In God we trust." I personally think that they placed that there so that we could keep our faith on God and his ability to keep us, not on money. I mean, if you look around today, people's 401ks are tanking. I mean, the cost of food and gas and oil has dramatically increased. I mean, we've got friends that live up north, and diesel fuel, number two fuel or so on, they claim it's going to go through the roof. And so how are people going to pay for this stuff? I mean, just to keep warm. The government seems to be going crazy with these outlandish laws they're trying to pass and taxing us. I mean, it's an incredible burden. All this and so much more that we see have created a lot of fear of the unknown. I'd submit to you today that it's only because people have placed their trust in those things and not God. We don't know what the market's going to do. So what happens? It produces fear. We don't know if the grocery store is going to have what we need tomorrow, or if the prices are going to go up, like they have been. What happens? It produces fear. We don't know that if the price of gas and oil, what's going to be tomorrow. And you know what happens is if we're not careful, it can produce fear in our lives. And so, we can go past there again, let's all give each other a break, because our human reaction, our initial reaction can be panic, and if we're not careful, that can take us into fear. So here's what we need to do. When fear tries to set in and stop, what you need to do is just stop everything for just a few minutes and begin to write down what we know. And not what we know from the temporal. What do we know? The prices are high. Inflation is going crazy and so on. But I want you to write down what we know from the eternal. What does that mean? Write down things that we know from God and from his word. I've written down a few just to get us started. We know that all things work together for good, for those who love God and walk in his purpose. We know that the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not live in want. We know that in Christ we can go out in joy and be led forth by peace. We know that Jesus Christ always leads us in triumph. We know the righteous will never be forsaken, or God's seed will ever have to beg for bread. Listen, I want you to remember this simple thought. The next time the fear of the unknown tries to creep in, start writing down the things that you know. The KNOWs. Write down the knows and watch faith beat the living daylights out of fear.